Also the fact that Josh has the Auriok Champion, which is a card that we really don't see very much. I can't remember the last time I saw it really in any deck.
Yeah, it's been played very casually. It's a big commander card. It's seen some play in like random Soul Sisters deck.
Yeah, I could see it in Soul Sisters.
Very often you'll see it in Black-White Tokens, but again, that's a deck that's been very fringe since the very first Modern Pro Tour.
Yeah, it's very fringe, but I mean, we've seen that Auriok Champion just, be such an asset against these blue-red twin decks.
Absolutely. So Lucas is just going to start on a Scalding Tarn. Josh is just going to play a Flagstones of Trocaire and pass. Lucas is just going to double up on the Tarn and pass back. And here's where things get interesting with Josh. He has a lot of high power 2-drops that he can make against this blue-red twin deck, whether it's Auriok Champion, Bitter Blossom, or just getting Intangible Virtue on the battlefield to increase his clock later on in the game.
And we can already see in Lucas's hand some of the sideboard cards that he's brought in for the matchup. We can see an Is It Staticaster and a Jace, and looks like we're going to be getting a better view of these cards now.
Absolutely. So Joshua Cho is just going to play a Fetid Heath, filter into some mana, cast an Inquisition of Kozilek, and we have Dispel, Is It Staticaster, Cryptic Command, Jace, Architect of Thought, and Splinter Twin. So Lucas's hand is full of absolute gas, but no mana.
Yeah, no mana, also no cantrips. I mean, a card like Remand is really what blue-red twin wants in this sort of situation, so they can kind of delay their opponent, dig a little deeper to their deck. If Lucas doesn't hit land drops, things can be really, really rough for him. On the other hand, though, the Is It Staticaster is a great card, but it's probably going to go.
Yeah, I can imagine Joshua is probably going to be taking these as a Staticaster, especially since Dispelled actually doesn't do very much against his deck, which is one of the benefits of this deck right now and why he's just been mopping the floor with these blue-red twin decks.
So this is a pretty interesting play. Lucas is actually cracking both of his fetch lands. So I think that he's maybe not valuing the chance to draw a third land as much as we think he is, or he's just valuing his life total a lot.
Yeah, I have to imagine that in that spot, I keep those fetches on the battlefield just to give me, a slight increase in percentage of drawing an additional land. Because at this point, that's what he needs. He needs to get to the spot where he can actually cast that Jace or be able to use that Cryptic Command.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, he's just going to draw a land anyways.
Well, when you got it, you got it.
Yeah, saw it coming. Visions of Beyond.
Called it. Just called it.
So Josh Cho's going to go ahead and draw a card for his turn. And I have to imagine we can see something here like a Lingering Souls, maybe?
Yeah, this is the point in the game where Josh wants to start developing some sort of pressure. He knows that he's not going to get comboed out, so he wants to build some pressure, and then on the subsequent turns, once he has some pressure established, he can keep some mana open to disrupt the combo.
Well, it looks like it's going to be a Bitter Blossom instead. He's just going to pass the turn back. Now, it does look like Josh has a couple lands in his hand, and Lucas Wade just with another land right off the top can allow him to put that Jace, Architect of Thought on the battlefield.
Knew it was there.
Just knew it was coming. And so this Jace is going to help try and contain these Bitter Blossom fairies, as well as allow him to get some card advantage once he untaps in a safe spot with it.
Yeah, the one good thing about these Bitter Blossom tokens is that Lucas will likely be priced into continually plussing his Jace and not really getting a chance to minus it, otherwise the tokens will be able to overwhelm it. The other thing that Josh can do is he has a lot of Anthem effects. So even though that Jace's plus looks really good right now, Josh has some good ways to make it so that it's not nearly as good as it otherwise would be.
Absolutely. So Josh is just going to play another Ghost Quarter for his turn, cast a Lingering Souls to add some more power to the battlefield, and then just pass it back to Lucas.
So one thing that Josh, I'm certain he's noticed, but Lucas only has one red source. So Josh has had a chance to see his opponent's hand and knew a lot of the cards there and felt safe for a small period of time. But as Lucas gets more and more draw steps, Josh has to worry about the combo more and more. But now that Lucas has missed the land drop, he's likely to just play lands as he draws them, and he does not have a red mana. So Josh probably feels a little more secure that it's a little unlikely that he'll actually get comboed out.
Well, it looks like he has a Mountain and a Steam Vents.
Oh, that is a Mountain, excuse me.
Those foil full art lands do tend to, well, I don't care. They might look foil, it's just the glare, but those full out Zendikar lands do tend to look the same. But yeah, it looks like Josh Cho I was going to say he declined to attack, but that's because there'll be 0 power.
Yeah, if he attacked, it would just be for funsies.
So Lucas is just continuing to plus that Jace to try and contain this token army that's building on Josh Cho's side. He does have 5 mana available. We're going to draw for the turn. And at this point, he's just looking for any type of Anthem effect that's going to be able to give him an actual army against this Jace Architect of Thought.
Yeah, and while Jace is a great source of card advantage, you can see that this mounting army of tokens is essentially forcing the Jace to just continually plus and not really being able to be that source of card advantage.
Which really isn't that bad of a thing, because at some point he can ultimate if he needs to and try and get some great value out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I believe he's got cards like Pyroclasm and Anger of the Gods. So, well, it looks like just Anger of the Gods.
Yeah, I imagine he probably brought them in. Wouldn't be bad to ultimate a Jason, cast an Anger from his deck and something like a Sorin or a Gideon out of Josh's deck.
Yeah, absolutely.
So looks like Josh is going to go ahead and fire up his Shambling Vent, send 1 damage at that Jace, gain a life. We're going to see a second Flagstones of Trocare played. It's going to allow Josh to go get another land from that other Flagstones dying. Does enter the battlefield tapped though, so he's not going to be able to use that mana this turn.
So does Josh have any way to break up the combo in his hand, in case that is something that Lucas tries to do?
It does look like he has a white card. I can't tell if it's a Path to Exile or maybe it's like a Timely Reinforcements. But I can't imagine that he would keep Timely Reinforcements in post-board against this twin deck.
Yeah, the burnout plan is certainly something that the blue-red twin deck employs at times, but I think it's not something that's likely to be a factor against Josh because he has so many flyers, so many good ways to clog up the board. It's hard for Lucas to actually attack much.
Yeah, so it looks like Lucas is just going to play a land and pass. Josh is going to make another token off of his Bitter Blossom in the upkeep. He has a handful of cards, so let's see if he has something that he can deploy to start trying to pressure this Jace and get it off the battlefield.
Yeah, this game definitely seems to be going in Josh's favor so far. Lucas hasn't been able to do a whole lot, and Josh is continually building up his resources, even though he's not actually getting in any damage. But as soon as he gets an Anthem effect, things go from bad to worse for Lucas really quickly.
Yeah, so I have to imagine that even if Josh does have an Anthem effect, he might be waiting until he has 2. That way he can try and sneak 1 in past this Cryptic Command that Lucas has, which is another card that's going to be difficult for Josh to try and overcome at this point. The Jace is continually plussing, and he's just kind of sitting on the Cryptic until he can draw into some action.
So it looks like Josh has a Duress. It'll be interesting to see when he wants to fire it off. A lot of times Duress is something that, or a lot of discards, when you draw them in the mid-game, you want to save them for a turn where you're trying to do something.
Yeah, which I imagine is what he's probably going to be doing here. Now it is important to see that Lucas did just draw a copy of Pestermite, so he does have a way to combo out Josh if he doesn't have at least 2 answers, since Lucas does also have that Dispel in his hand.
Yeah, this would be, I mean, with us having full information, this would be a good turn for Josh to fire off something like a Duress, but we'll have to see how this plays out.
Yeah, I think that I would have waited if I was Lucas on that Pestermite. I think letting Jace go down to 6 every turn is absolutely fine. At this point, it's just constricting Josh's mana. And I think that I would have just let that Shambling Vent hit my Jace 1 more time and then Pestermite on the end step and try and win on the next turn.
Yeah, I agree. The other thing also is that now Josh, it looks like, I don't believe he has an Urborg out, so it looks like his only colored mana is 1 Flagstones. So Lucas having the Dispel in his hand, he may think that the light is essentially green for him to combo off on his own turn.
Yeah, he has the Dispel, and he also has that Cryptic Command as something that he can use later on in the game if needed. So Josh is kind of in a bind at this point, so he's going to Ghost Quarter his own Flagstones.
Probably going for a black source.
Going to get him a Plains tapped and a Swamp.
So now I believe he's probably going to be looking to cast that Duress because he knows that Lucas has the Dispel and the Cryptic Command from the earlier Inquisition of Kozilek. And so Josh, seeing the Pestermite, is probably worried about Splinter Twin and knows that he cannot kill the Pestermite in response with an instant, and Duress is the only way to go about it.
So it looks like Josh is going to Duress Lucas, but see 3 copies of Splinter Twin.
Wow.
And be in a tough spot. So he might take the Dispel and try and trick Lucas into being afraid of something like Slaughter Pact.
And that is what Josh does.
Which he does. So he might have Slaughter Pact and just be selling this with his head shakes. But if I'm Lucas, I'm just not going to be scared.
Yeah, I think the head shakes would make
he
Lucas
just drew
feel
a Snapcaster
more
Mage,
confident.
which is very good. He does have the Slaughter Pact.
Wow.
Oh, just Hollywood Josh Cho.
Jeez.
Oh, man. Just shaking his head. Now he's triumphantly putting his fists in the air, just Hollywooding it up.
That was amazing. That was played so well by Josh. I mean, ghost quartering your own land, knowing from the previous information that you needed to fire off your duress there because your Slaughter Pact wouldn't be good enough on its own. I mean, keeping track of all that information and playing it that way was really, really well.
Now, we're still in the situation where Josh has to try and deal with this Jace. It's shutting down all of his things.
You know, and actually that goes back to what you were saying about how you thought Lucas shouldn't have tapped down the Shambling Vent. If Lucas had waited until end of turn to cast his Pestermite, there's a good chance that Josh wouldn't have ghost quartered his own land to cast that duress. I believe that Josh only cast the duress because he saw the Pestermite. And so Lucas, if he had just, you know, let his Jace take 1 damage, he might have been in a more secure position to combo off.
More than likely. So Josh is just going to fire up his Shambling Vent, send another 1 damage at Lucas's Jace, and this is just keeping parity with the Jace and the life loss off of his Bitter Blossom, but it's just gaining a token every turn. And at this point, as soon as he can get some kind of Anthem effect on the battlefield, he's going to be able to swarm that Jace Architect of Thought.
Yeah, this is like having, you know, the Hoover Dam, and you're standing right below it, and you see a guy at the top with a sledgehammer, you know, trying to break a crack in it. And you know, at some point, you know, all this is just going to come out and overwhelm you.
So again, Josh is just going to keep doing the same thing over and over, pass the turn back. Lucas is just going to draw for the turn. He does have a couple Snapcaster Mages in his hand, a bunch of Splinter Twins, a bunch more Cryptic Commands.
I bet he wishes he could Snapcaster a Pestermite, but
yeah,
unfortunately, you can't do that.
Well, the good news is that Jace is at 8 instead of the 7 that it would have been had he cast the Pestermite on Josh's end step.
Yeah. The other thing that this Shambling Vent is doing is it's gaining Josh life. I mean, Josh's Bitter Blossom, at this point, it's done a lot of damage to him, quite a bit, and that Shambling Vent is keeping Josh's life total secure. Yeah.
So Josh has drawn for the turn. Looks like he's just going to fire up the Shambling Vent. The same tricks. He does have a Lingering Souls in his hand. Another Bitter Blossom, it looked like. He's just missing the Anthem effects. So there's the Auriok Champion, which I imagine we're going to see a Cryptic Command.
Yeah.
And this might give Josh an opening to be able to land an Intangible Virtue, but he's just going to pass back. So Lucas is going to draw for the turn. Looks like he picked up a Spell Snare off of that Cryptic Command, which is a very good card against Josh.
Yeah, it hits a lot of Josh's best threats.
So Josh is going to draw for the turn after making his fairies.
So Josh I believe he has a couple more threats in hand, and he's probably holding them back because committing more Lingering Souls tokens to the board really doesn't do a whole lot. And he does have to be worried about the potential of something like Anger of the Gods.
Let's see here. I think he's just going to activate his Shambling Vent, send it at the Jace yet again. We've done this dance about 6 times, 7 times now.
Yeah, I really appreciate Josh's patience. He knows that it's kind of on Lucas to really do something, and that over time Josh's resources are just accruing. And as soon as Josh draws something like an Intangible Virtue, a Sorin, or a Gideon, all of his tokens are going to be attacking for a lot. So while Josh is progressing his game plan, even though he's not actually getting any damage, Lucas is just kind of treading water, and Josh is happy, you know, just kind of keeping things as is.
It is important to note that they are under a minute here, and if this game ends in a tie, then it will just be a draw. I don't think Josh would be too upset with the draw. In fact, I don't think Lucas would either, being at 9-1, but it is still nice to get a win in these games where you're fighting it pretty hard.
Yeah, I think you always want to go for the win. A win is just so much better than a draw. Even when, you know, you have a loss to give, you're this deep in a tournament, there's the potential to draw into top 8. A draw may not lock you out of top 8. You still want to go for that win, though, and I would expect each player to sort of do what they can.
Yep, so Josh is just going to go ahead and do this same Shambling Vent dance, pass it back to Lucas. He has a whole bunch of cards in his hand. Let's see if he has any action at all.
And it's pretty interesting to see how Lucas's deck just really isn't doing anything in this situation. I mean, in certain ways, Josh's deck isn't doing a whole lot in terms of its attacking power, but you can see that with these combo decks, sometimes you just don't draw the right mix of cards, and you just end up not really being able to do anything.
Yeah, he's just had a bunch of Splinter Twins in his hand forever.
Yeah, the one Pestermite that he drew died, and now he's can't really do a lot until he draws another. I'm surprised that we haven't seen him fire off some Snapcaster Mages targeting Serum Visions just to dig a little deeper. Maybe that's something we'll see in the upcoming turns.
That's what it looks like. It looks like they are in turns, so we are going to have 5 turns here to see if one of these players can take the game off of the other. Josh is fetching. Man, he's got a lot of Arilax on the battlefield. That's a whole lot of Ari.
Yeah, Ari's probably at home watching and smiling.
Just smiling just like his fairy token. Just a big giant grin.
Yeah, he has a really big grin.
All right, so we are in turn 1, I believe. I can move that up. Yep, turn 1.
You know, I actually got to be at the Pro Tour that Ari won.
Yeah,
in Honolulu.
Cons of Tarkir.
Yeah, that was sweet. Honolulu's great.
Siege rhinos everywhere.
If you can get there, you should do it.
I'll try. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry. You might not know this about me, but I used to be a pro surfer.
Oh, really?
No, not at all.
Oh, man.
You got real excited. Are you a surfing fanatic?
No, I'm just a Northeast kid who always wished I was a surfing fanatic.
All right, so Josh is just going to do this same dance. I have to imagine that he just doesn't have anything, or he just trying to play it safe.
Yeah, it's starting to look like Josh really is playing for the draw, which I'm a little disappointed in. I just want to see good old Josh Cho at 11-0, but we'll see what's going on.
Yeah, so let's see here.
Seems like there may be a little confusion with the life totals. I think they're counting up the fetch lands and the life gain from Shambling Vents.
Yeah. There was the fetch and the Bitter Blossom and the Shambling Vents for 1, so he should have been 1 lower than what he's been normally.
Doesn't seem like something that has much of an impact on the game.
Yeah, I don't think 15, 16, or 17 is going to do much as far as Lucas's game plan is concerned, but we do always have to keep the game state correct.
So this is has been a draw that's been good against what Lucas Wade has had, but this black-white tokens deck, one of the things that it's also known for is being good against decks like Abzan and Jund, because it's so hard for them to deal with all the tokens, and this is a draw that would have been phenomenal against a deck like that. I mean, with all of these tokens and you're trying to play fair, what would you do?
Just die.
Yeah.
So it looks like Josh Cho tried an Auriok Champion, filtering that swamp through his Fetid Heath for 2 white mana. Lucas Wade did counter it with a Spell Snare, and he is taking his turn. Looks like he drew a Desolate Lighthouse, so he's going to have a couple extra draws to try and find a Splinter Twin. Unfortunately, he is only going to get 1 more turn here. So Josh is going to use his Ghost Quarter to hit that Desolate Lighthouse, and Lucas is just not even going to activate it.
Yeah, Lucas could have activated it, but it seems like he's just content to let this game end in a draw.
Yeah, it appears that is what's going to happen.
Maybe he's just too afraid of Josh. He feels like he's coming out lucky.
I mean, have you seen Josh? He is very intimidating.
Oh yeah, I mean he's just a mean-looking guy.
He just has a masterful mustache.
Josh is actually one of the nicest people in the world.
I agree.
Yeah. He showed me a really sweet place to get sandwiches in D.C. That's his home turf. One of my favorite things about going to opens there is this one specific sandwich shop.
Nice. So Josh is on turn 3. He's going to draw a card for his turn. Lucas Wade is going to get 1 more turn. Joshua Cho will also have 1 more turn in this game. And we're going to see if somebody can try and close it out. If anybody's going to have a chance, it looks like it's going to be Joshua Cho. Lucas Wade just has no additional combo piece in his hand, just a bunch of Splinter Twins, but it does look like he has a bunch of Cryptic Commands, which I think is going to be able to keep Josh from being able to do anything.
Yeah, essentially the story of this game is both players had kind of impotent draws. Josh's draw essentially has been completely blocked by this Jace, and Lucas's draw was completely blocked by a timely duress and removal spell from Josh, and it has basically led to neither player really being able to do a whole lot.
So it looks like Josh is going to go ahead and use a Thoughtseize here. And I think he might be trying to set something up for the next turn.
It's pretty interesting how each player has drawn so many cards, but it's only been a select few that have really impacted the game. You can really see how a lot of the cards are just kind of minutia, and then you have those key players like the Slaughter Pact and the Jace that are really pulling the weight.
Absolutely. That Slaughter Pact was real brutal.
Yeah. But, I mean, it wouldn't have been as brutal if Josh didn't know when to fire off that duress. So certainly not only was it an important card to have, but its application, how Josh used it and sequenced things, was equally important.
Yeah, for sure. So it looks like here we have the Cryptic Command was cast. Lucas is going to take his turn. Going to be turn 4. He's drawing a negate.
I almost wonder if it would have been worth it for Lucas at some point to cast one of those Snapcaster Mages and just put a Splinter Twin on his Snapcaster Mage. I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot of spells in his graveyard, but Snapcaster Mage with a Splinter Twin is kind of a nice threat.
It definitely is. I imagine they're discussing whether or not somebody wants to concede or not.
Yeah, I would assume it's just a draw.
Yeah, Lucas is showing a bunch of Cryptic Commands. I believe this game is just going to end up in a draw.
Lucas shows Josh the Cryptic Commands. Josh says, I don't care. Look at all the tokens I have.
Yeah, I got a bunch. Not doing much. You got a Jace.
Yeah.
It's just stopping me from doing anything.
Yep.
So this match is going to end in a draw. Joshua Cho is going to move on to 10-0-1, technically still undefeated.
Still undefeated.
Lucas Wade is going to move on to 9-1-1 with his blue-red twin deck. Josh on black-white tokens. And that was